distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to welcome you all to the inaugural session of the 59th annual session of the Asian African Legal Consultative Organization, Alco. And I wish at this stage to thank you for really attending this important session as we embark formally on the proceedings of this annual session. To this end, I wish to invite the President of the 58th annual session of Alco and to deliver the opening statement at this. And the statement will be delivered by His Excellency Mr. Geoffrey Mizengo Pinda, Deputy Minister for Constitution and Legal Affairs of the United Republic of Tanzania. I give you the floor.
Thank you, President, to deliver the opening speech. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a heavy heart I stand before you today to deliver the opening speech on behalf of the United Republic of Tanzania and on behalf of the President of the 58th annual session, Alco, and in the name of His Excellency Dr. Augustine P. Mahiga, the then Minister for Constitution and Legal Affairs of the United Republic of Tanzania, who presided over the 58th annual session in Dar es Salaam, and who is no longer with us. He passed away on 1st May 2020 in Dodoma, legally and the accomplished diplomat, seasoned political and an illustrious son of Tanzania and the Afro-Asian region. His absence is more deeply felt by us with each passing day. Please join me in observing a moment, a silent for His Excellency Dr. Augustine Mahiga. Let's remember him. Thank you. During the 58th annual session of Alco held in Dar es Salaam, the United Republic of Tanzania in 2019, whose chief guest was the Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania, and now the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan, had reaffirmed Tanzania commitment to the letter and the spirit for the establishment of Alco, and reiterated our readiness and partner with state member in realizing the objectives of our organization, continuing to render all the necessary support to Secretary General and his team as they pursue the noble goals of our organization. With this word in mind, I seek to undertake this honorable task of addressing this august gathering at this auspicious occasion of the 59th annual session of Alco. Allow me, on behalf of the government and the people of United Republic of Tanzania, to extend our sincere gratitude to all the distinguished delegates from the member states of Alco who graced the session in Dar es Salaam in 2019. I wish to extend our thanks to the Vice President of the 58th session, the Secretary General of Alco and the Alco Secretariat for the cordial support and the cooperation extended to His Excellency Dr. Mahiga during his tenure of the President of the organization. Excellencies, this is also an opportunity moment to express our profound gratitude to the government of the People's Republic of China for hosting the 59th annual session of Alco over the year. China has proactively participated in some substantive deliberation at Alco's sponsored seminar and workshops, and in addition was wholehearted support of our organization, both financially and administrative matters. This included regularly putting a senior diplomat to the Secretariat of Alco. In recognition of celebration of this unique long bond between Alco and China, the latter has expressed its willingness to host of the 59th session during the 2019 season itself. The pandemic has incapacitated the humanity on several counts, and the necessity taking prudent and pragmatic steps while organization an interactive event to ensure safety of person without compromising on the promised output on the event. I applaud the host government and the Secretariat on opting for hybrid format of conducting this year proceedings. I thank the host government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Regional, the People's Republic of China, for hosting the event in the beautiful city of Hong Kong, and for the very warm welcome extended to all delegates attending this conference in person. Appreciation of no mean order is also due to the host government for providing tremendous technical support to conducting the proceeding online. Owing to the niche that Alco has carved out of itself in the group of intergovernmental organizations, member states continue to attach great significance of the work of Alco and are committed to use it as a platform for the deliberations of critical legal questions and common concern. The 59th annual session is of expected importance as we are about to elect a new Secretary General. A new leader shall now assume the responsibility of heading the march of the organization as it keeps on entertaining new landmark. The moment is apart for expressing our appreciation to the outgoing Secretary General for his meticulous effort of net worth, accomplishment since his assumption of the office in August 2016. His spirited leadership, his steadfast commitment towards fulfilling the mandate entrusted on him by the member of state has been commendable. Being guided by the might bundling spirit, Alco has unfettering discharge its mandate of facilitating infusion of deliberative democracy in the development and the codification of international law, endorsing an approach which is ambitious, yet rooted in pragmatism and organization, has always strived to meet the aspiration and the expertise of the member states in Asia and African continents, guided by such pragmatism in a world order that is even the facts. Important topics, areas, and the contemporary relevance, such as selected item of the agenda of the International Law Commission, international law in cyberspace, and violations of international law in Palestine and other occupied territories by Israel, and other international legal issues related to the questions of Palestine will be deliberated upon in the next few days. I'm confident that these deliberations will contribute in enriching the discussions happening at the United Nations and the other multilateral forums. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. To this end, I now wish to declare that opening of the 59th annual session of Alco. Given the hybrid nature of this meeting, I would like to ask the Secretary General to preside over the remainder of this inaugural session to the election of the President of 59th annual session of Alco. I would like to conclude my remarks by wishing you attendees constructive discussions over the coming 3 days. Also to those attending in person, I wish you a present and a safe stay in Hong Kong. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency Honorable Geoffrey Mizengo Pinda, the Deputy Minister for Constitution and Legal Affairs of the United Republic of Tanzania, speaking as the President of the 58th annual session of Alco. Now it is indeed my privilege and honor to invite our chief guest to speak. Our chief guest today is His Excellency Mr. Li Keqiang, Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China. And I must add that Premier Li Keqiang is no stranger to Alco. In fact, this is going to be the second time that we shall have a privilege of listening to him, because for the first time he also addressed the Alco session that took place in 2015 in Beijing. So from 2015 to 2021, it is again an honor really to have opportunity to hear from him. I now give His Excellency the floor to deliver the inaugural address as our chief guest. Thank you very much.
尊敬的主席先生，尊敬的秘书长先生，各位代表，各位嘉宾，女士们、先生们，很高兴时隔6年再次参加亚非法律协商组织年会。我谨代表中国政府，对线上线下与会的各位朋友表示诚挚欢迎。亚非法协作为万农会议的硕果，是唯一横跨亚非的国际法合作平台。60多年来，亚非国家充分协商，凝聚共识，促进确立了和平共处5项原则，共同 但有区别的责任等重大国际法理念，丰富了以联合国宪章为核心的国际法基本原则，为国际法发展做出了不可磨灭的亚非贡献。与联合国大会、国际法委员会等国际组织保持着密切合作，协助成员国积极参与习惯国际法编纂和重要国际条法制定，有力提升了亚非国家在国际法领域的影响力。当前，新冠肺炎疫情起伏反复，世界经济复苏乏力，多边主义和多边机制经受冲击。中国国家主席习近平提出，要朝着构建人类命运共同体的方向不断努力，共同创造更加美好的未来。在世界人口总量3/4的亚非国家，是坚守国际法治、践行多边主义的重要力量。在此，我愿提出5点建议：第一，坚持主权平等，共同践行多边主义。亚非国家在历史上的遭遇一再证明，外来干涉频频带来的地区动荡、单边制裁严重危害国计民生，滥用武力只会造成人道危机。应当始终坚持国家无论大小一律平等，充分尊重各国自主选择发展道路和模式的权利，充分尊重文明和社会制度的多样性。一国的事情应该由本国人民决定，国际上的事情应该大家共同商量着办。坚定不移践行多边主义，始终做维护主权平等、维护和平稳定的正义力量。第二，推进互联互通，共同实现开放共赢。亚非国家是全球化的参与者、建设者、受益者，更应携手维护全球化进程。产业链、供应链的安全稳定事关国际社会整体利益，要深化互利互惠、开放包容的伙伴关系，不断提升区域经济一体化水平，维护以世界贸易组织为核心的多边贸易体制，提升发展中国家对国际经贸规则制定的话语权。中国将全面实施区域全面经济伙伴关系协定，推进支持非洲发展伙伴倡议，同各方加强发展战略的衔接，推动世界经济复苏增长。第三，筑牢疫情防线，共同强化卫生全球治理。人民至上，生命至上，不论贫富，不分种族。面对疫情严重冲击，亚非国家守望相助，共克时艰。各国要秉持科学精神，遵循科学规律，携手抗击疫情，推动构建公平合理的疫苗分配体系，支持建设区域疫苗生产和分配中心，加强疫苗和药物研发、生产和技术转移，确保疫苗在发展中国家的可及性和可负担性，不断完善全球防控机制和法律框架，提高人类社会预防和应对传染病流行的能力。第四，加快绿色转型，共同推动可持续发展。过去几百年高污染、高排放发展的模式不利影响日益显现，地球生态环境面临严峻挑战，应当以联合国气候变化框架公约及其巴黎协定为重要遵循，发展国家率先减少排放、 停止污染，切实为发展中国家提供资金、技术、能力建设等支持。发展中国家也要根据自身国情实际，均衡有序推动绿色低碳转型。第五，秉持公平正义，共同加强国际法治。公平正义的事业需要国际法去维护，和平发展的环境需要国际法去保障。要坚定地维护以联合国为核心的国际体系，以国际法为基础的国际秩序，以联合国宪章宗旨和原则为基础的国际关系基本准则，要以良法处善治，在多边机构改革中充分考虑广大亚非人民的利益需求，增加发展中国家代表性和发言权，要照顾彼此关切，积极参与深海、极地、外空、网络、数字等新兴领域的新机制、新规则建设，保障亚非人民共享发展成果的权利。女士们、先生们，中国是亚非大家庭的重要一员，始终是亚非国家命运与共的可靠朋友。中国也是亚非法协的坚定支持者和重要建设者。在2015年的会议上，我宣布设立中国亚非法协国际法交流与研究项目，至今已经有40多个国家的近200位法律官员参加。我愿借此机会宣布，中国将于亚非法协在香港特别行政区设立区域仲裁中心。我们将继续坚持一国两制，维护香港长期繁荣稳定。联合国国际贸易法委员会、海洋国际司法会议等多家国际法律机构在香港设立了办事处。我相信，香港区域仲裁中心的设立将为亚非国家提供更加便捷高效的争端解决服务，也将为香港这一东方之珠增添更多的光彩。女士们、先生们，大道之行，天下为公。面对人类面临的挑战，亚非国家共同肩负着坚守国际法治、践行多边主义的重要责任。我相信，亚非法协将进一步凝聚发展中国家力量，为共同建设更加美好的世界做出新的重要贡献。祝亚非法协第59届会议取得圆满成功。谢谢。
I once again thank His Excellency the Premier of the State Council of the People's Republic of China for his insightful and very important inaugural address. To this end, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to deliver a welcome remark in my capacity as the Secretary General of Alco. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the 59th annual session of Alco. It's also a pleasure for having this session in Hong Kong, which is a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China under the one country, two systems formula. The Hong Kong Special Administrative Region is today one of the most beautiful cities in the world. Indeed, it is also one of significant transformative financial centers and commercial cities. Let me also recognize that this is the third time that the People's Republic of China have organized the annual session since joining the organization in 1983. The other two sessions were held in 1990 and in 2015. Excellencies, today we are conducting the present session in hybrid format, of course due to the realities on the ground of the ongoing crisis of the COVID-19. It was also due to COVID-19 that this session ought to take place last year in 2020 was postponed to this year. This is not unique to Alco. Many other international organizations, including the United Nations bodies, such as the International Law Commissions, also postponed part of the activities and sessions during last year due to realities of the COVID-19, and have started and continue to conduct some of their transactions and meetings virtually or in hybrid. Indeed, COVID-19 has produced great impact on human life in past 2 years and continues to do so. There is no simple way to sum up these 2 years. Tumultuous, terrifying, wearisome, and at the same time, resilient, heroic, and hopeful. The phrase, "we are all in this together," has been used both domestically and internationally throughout the pandemic time to highlight the sense that the COVID-19 is uniting us in a shared experiences. It has in many ways brought forth the pressing need of the continued reliance on and compliance with international law, and situating the necessity for interdependence, cooperation, and multilateralism. The purpose of Alco, Excellencies, remain unchanged. It's to serve as an advisory body to the member states in the field of international law and the Forum for Asian-Africa Cooperation in legal matters of common concern. In general, Alco remains vested with duality of functions, mainly as a platform for legal consultations and a framework to collaborate with the United Nations International Law Commission and legal advisors of the member state, mainly working within the Sixth Committee of the United Nations on issues of international law of common concern to member states. An annual session offers an opportunity to the member state to reflect and refocus the activities of Alco and examine how much Alco has, with its member states, contributed to its core mission, to the progressive development of international law with Afro-Asian values. And again, as an intergovernmental organization, so long as member states remain supportive of Alco, the Secretariat will tirelessly work and dedicate its human resources to the work of Alco in the progressive development of international law. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the agenda of the 59th annual session, I would like to inform you that owing to the exigencies imposed by the pandemic, and accordingly, to ensure the safety of all participants, we have shortened the duration of the session, and we have only 3 agenda items to be deliberated, namely, topics on the agenda of the International Law Commission, international law in a cyberspace, and the third one is violation of international law in Palestine and other occupied territories by Israel and other legal issues related to the question of the Palestine. However, member states are welcome to include their views on items in the agenda of the organization which are not deliberated during this annual session, especially during their general statements. And given the tight schedule and the hybrid mode of participation, it is particularly important to keep the discussion on each item on the agenda within the time allocated. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, with this short note, once again, I welcome you all to the 59th annual session of Alco, and once again, I wish to thank the government of the People's Republic of China for hosting this session. I hope that your meaningful cooperation during this session, then this session will be a grand success. I thank you very much. Thank you.
尊敬的李克强总理 ，Mr. Kennedy Gaston， 各位来宾、女士们、先生们，大家好！欢迎各位出席在中华人民共和国香港特别行政区举行的亚洲非洲法律协商组织第59届年会。受新冠疫情影响，原定去年举行的第59届年会延期到今年举行。虽然疫情严重影响了跨境人员往来，但国际社会也展现了前所未有的坚韧，在科技的帮助下，保持着紧密的沟通与协作，共同应对新冠疫情为全球所带来前所未有的挑战。本届年会是亚非法协历史上第一次采用线上线下混合的模式举行。本届大会得以在香港顺利召开，我首先特别感谢中央人民政府以及亚非法协的鼎力支持。我也感谢亚非法协秘书处和香港特区政府律政司为本届大会所做的悉心安排，以及亚洲国际法律研究院为来自40多委员国和参与观测的大约200名代表所提供的服务。在香港成功举办这项具有国际影响力的盛会，对建设香港成为亚太地区国际法律及争议解决中心举足轻重，充分体现国家坚持在一国两制下让香港保留原有的法律制度，并一直支持巩固和提升其国际的竞争力。香港特区政府将继续落实国家战略规划，包括吸引国际机构落户香港法律枢纽，推动国际法律合作和交流，争取国际组织在香港召开决策性的会议等。亚非法协年会是国际上重要的政府之间的决策性会议。亚非法协一直奉行多边主义，倡导通过国际合作处理国际的事务，是国际法治的积极推动者，并为委员国提供重要平台，就广泛与国际法相关的议题交换意见和看法，深受国际赞誉。我国坚持构建人类命运共同体的理念，与亚非法协所倡导的价值及联合国2030可持续发展议程的核心内涵高度一致。国家一直致力将可持续发展目标与自身国家的发展规划进行有机的结合，通过国际合作推动全球法治建设及可持续的发展。受此启发，香港特区政府律政司也在去年正式启动具有前瞻性的愿景2030聚焦法治10年计划，通过与不同的持份者的合作，促进公平和以规则为本的法治社会的可持续发展。亚非法协其中一项重大成就是建立区域仲裁中心，鼓励以和平方式解决争端，在亚非地区推广国际商事仲裁，并为国际仲裁提供基础的设施。中国一直坚定支持和平解决争端。正如习近平主席在中华人民共和国恢复联合国合法席位50周年纪念会议上的讲话中指出，中国积极倡导以和平方式政治解决争端。我们应该大力弘扬和平、发展、公平、正义、民主、自由的全人类共同价值，共同为建设一个更加美好的世界提供正确理念指引。亚非法协在第57届年会上批准设立另外一个区域仲裁中心的工作计划， 在此之后，亚非法协秘书长与中华人民共和国政府同意将这区域仲裁中心设立在香港特区，并于今年11月10日签署了东道国的协定。香港特区政府对此重大举措深受鼓舞，并将全力履行任务，不负所托。在疫情肆虐的当下，香港区域仲裁中心目前的其中一项重要的目标是推动网上争议解决服务。香港特区一直积极推动网上争议解决服务的发展，去年更加入了亚太经合组织网上争议解决的合作框架，推广使用网上争议解决服务处理跨境的争议。另外，我们还推出了普惠全球法律创新平台，汇聚了全球的专家，与联合国贸发会联手追踪和研究国际上网上争议解决的发展。明天举行有关争议解决的辩会，将会对网上解决争议进行讨论，我诚意邀请各位参加。香港特区拥有丰富的法律及争议解决人才，成熟和完善的法律体系以及法律的基建。作为中国境内唯一的普通法司法管辖区，香港特区拥有悠久深厚的普通法传统。香港特区终审法院的判决经常被海外的普通法地区所引用，凸显了国际社会对于香港特区法律及司法体系素质的认可。根据伦敦大学玛丽皇后学院的国际仲裁调查报告，自2015年起，香港特区一直名列全球最受欢迎仲裁地点前5名，今年更超越巴黎，位列第3名。我们定当充分发挥自身法律及争议解决服务的优势，向亚非法协成员国推广相关的服务。最后，我预祝亚洲非洲法律协商组织第59届年会取得丰硕成果，各位嘉宾身体健康。在线上的朋友，我热切欢迎，并希望有机会与各位在香港会面，一同参观新成立并即将投入营运的亚非法协香港区域仲裁中心。谢谢各位。
Let me once again thank Her Excellency Mrs. Kalie Lam, the Chief Executive of Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China, who just finished her address. I should add that really Her Excellency Chief Executive of Hong Kong, she is a very good friend of Alco. I recall very well 2 years ago in 2019, I was here with a group of legal officers from Alco member states in Hong Kong, and she really graced the occasion by participating in some of the activities that were organized by the Asian International Academy of International Law here, and really so we thank her very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now to conclude the inaugural session, allow me to invite His Excellency Mr. Hiroyuki Namazu, Assistant Minister and Director General of the International Legal Affairs Bureau of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, to give a vote of thanks. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honorable Ministers, Attorneys General, Excellencies, Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege for me to address you on the occasion of the 59th annual session of Alco. The 57th annual session was held in Japan in October 2018. Mr. Mikami Masahiro, the then legal advisor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, was elected as the president at that session. It is on his behalf that I take the floor and deliver this customary address at the present annual session. I take this opportunity to express gratitude on behalf of all the participants this session to the government of the People's Republic of China for graciously hosting the session. Since its inception in 1956, reserved forum of 7 Asian states to foster the exchange of ideas on international law, Alco has emerged as one of the largest regional forums in the world to facilitate the growth and development of international law. Undoubtedly, it is a unique organization in its field without any parallel, bringing together the diversity of the Afro-Asian community. Strengthening the rule of law in the region and the international community is a collective commitment, and I'm sure that Alco is destined for even greater heights in the days and months to come with the sustained efforts of each and every nation. The United Nations plays a central role in promoting the rule of law, and in this context, I would like to appreciate Alco's close working relationship with the United Nations and its International Law Commission, whose work the Alco Secretariat monitors on a regular basis. I am confident that Alco will greatly contribute to the realization of the purposes and principles of the United Nations through its close cooperation with the United Nations. Excellencies, let me also place on record my deep sense of appreciation for His Excellency, Professor Dr. Kennedy Gaston, Secretary General of Alco, for his meticulous and focused efforts to realize the objectives of Alco. Under his visionary leadership, Alco is doing extremely well, augmenting its resources in the most efficient manner to perform its functions. A range of new topics and initiatives have been introduced by the Secretary General in the work of Alco, and I request member states to make full use of Secretary's diligence and commitments to their work. I wish to thank all the distinguished delegates who are participating in the 59th annual session and hope the deliberations will further strengthen the bonds amongst ourselves. Thank you.
I thank you very much for your vote of thanks. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, this brings almost to an end of our inaugural session. And at this stage, I wish now to request head of delegations attending online to look into their cameras, and the head of delegation in person attending here to really come forth for the a group photo. So those online, please let's focus on, let's look into the cameras of your gadgets, and those in person, I invite you to come in front for the group picture. And I think the moderator will give us details on the pictures.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. So we are going to have a photo-taking session of the heads of delegations and other dignitaries. For the heads of delegations attending online, please look into your cameras. May I now invite the head of delegation of the People's Republic of China to come to the stage, please. May I also invite the Secretary for Justice of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China to come to the stage, please. May I also invite the head of delegation of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the head of delegation of the Philippines, and the head of delegation of Turkey to come to the stage, please. Thank you. So for delegations in person, please look into the cameras in front of you. One more, please. For online delegations, please look into the cameras as well. Thank you. Or another round of photos. Please look into the cameras in front of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. May I invite all the heads of delegations and dignitaries to return to their seats. Mr. Secretary General will take the floor. Thank you.
Stop video.
Excellencies, heads of delegations, participants, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you very much for attending the inaugural session, and we shall now adjourn and come back at 4:15. 4:15. That means in a couple of minutes from now, we shall be back. We shall commence now the first meeting of the delegation of Alco. And I shall now ask the media present to leave the venue and leave the room, because now the first meeting of the head of delegation will be confined to the other members and observers only. With this note, once again, thank you very much, and the inaugural session is adjourned until 4:45 p.m. Hong Kong time. I thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call the first meeting of delegations of Alco member states to order. And we will be going through some organizational, administrative, and financial matters. And the first item in this meeting will be adoption of the provisional agenda and tentative schedule of meetings and events. These documents were circulated earlier by Secretariat to all of you. And it needs to be pointed out that once again, due to risks posed by COVID-19 pandemic, and taking into account consideration the practices of other international meetings, and also in consultation with the government of the People's Republic of China, the host government, this session is being held in hybrid format, and its duration is shortened to 3 days. Therefore, in addition to organizational matters, including the appointment of the new Secretary General, only 3 substantive matters will be deliberated during this session, namely, selected items on the agenda of the International Law Commission, violations of international law in the Palestine and other occupied territories by Israel, and other international legal issues related to the question of Palestine, and international law in cyberspace. We have, subject to approval, received during the meeting of the heads of delegations. Is there any comment with regard to the adoption of the provisional agenda and tentative schedule of meetings and events? If there are none, then we shall consider as adopted the agenda and schedule of meetings and events. Thank you. The next item is the admission of new member states.
India. Don't touch. It's okay.
Excellencies, I see the distinguished representative of Republic of India has raised the hand, and I wish to give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Republic of India.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Excellency Dr. Henry Gaston, and my apologies for taking the floor again. As I just mentioned this morning, the technology always, confuses us, pressing this button instead of another button. My apologies once again. Regarding this issue on the provisional agenda. And before that, let me just reflect what I've been hearing since morning, the previous speakers, all of them without exception talking about the importance of this August Forum, this institution, this organization, Alco. And the spirit in which the organization came into force, and the spirit of this bonding conference, and the forum which was created precisely to discuss international law of common concerns. This is exactly where my delegation is coming from, Mr. Chair, while expressing our concerns about the proposed suggested theme for the general statement. Mr. Chair, as I highlighted during the heads of delegations meeting, the suggested theme is totally outside the scope and mandate, as well as the bonding conference outcome document. As the founding members of this organization, we reiterate our concerns, and we are of the view that the provisional agenda for each annual session should be on the basis of the work program of the organization as stipulated in the statutory rules. Therefore, the theme for the general statement highlighted in the provisional agenda circulated by the Secretariat is not acceptable to my delegation, Mr. Chair, since the same is outside the scope and mandate of this August Forum. Mr. Chair, the previous speakers were also highlighted about India's efforts ever since this provisional agenda was circulated. Yes, exactly. That is correct. That's correct. Because being, as I mentioned, as being founding members of this organization, we are fully committed to the mandate of this organization. This is precisely why we immediately brought to the to Secretariat, look, this is the forum. This is purely a forum where two huge continents, both Asian and African fraternity, will come and discuss issues of international law, common concern, and contribute for the progressive development of international law. Mr. Chair, in this connection, I also would like to bring back to India's efforts, and both informal as well as formal, with the Secretariat. On 16th November, my delegation has formally conveyed our position to Alco Secretariat to change the theme or consider not to have the theme for the general statement, Mr. Chair. We also propose in this context a theme which is more relevant in the context of Alco, and I quote, upholding international law for global peace and prosperity, role of Asian and African continents, African organizations. So, Mr. Chair, let me take this opportunity once again to reiterate our concern and request this August forum to either to delete or not to have a theme, or alternatively to address the concerns and also upholding the mandate of ALCO. The alternative theme suggested by India could be considered. Thank you, Chair.
I thank you very much, distinguished representative of the Republic of India. At this stage, I note also that there are other delegations who have raised their hands so that they can be given a floor. But before we go further, allow me to read Statutory Rule 11.3 in terms of the powers of the meeting of head of delegation. And that's why when I moved the motion for adoption of this agenda, it was made subject to decision of the meeting of the head of delegations. So we understand that during that meeting, views were presented for and against the suggested theme of the general statements, and the same we noted that they will be reflected in the summary report of that particular meeting. In the end, the consensus was that the minutes should be presented for adoption at this. So the Secretariat, and the understanding is that that concern has been duly noted, and so are the concerns of those who were in the favor of that particular suggestion. I wonder whether that will bring a matter to a point that we may now proceed with the adoption of the agenda on that understanding. And to that end, do we have any other member states wishing to take the floor? I see Japan. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. What I wished to register Japan's concern for the suggested theme. I now heard the President's decision and would like to respect your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now I see the distinguished representative of India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, we have reiterated our concerns and our position very clearly to this August forum. However, as a member committed to the organization's mandate and taking forward its given mandate, we don't want to come in the way, but I would like to come on board with the consensus, with a clear understanding that the theme will continue as a suggestion and not an agreed theme. We urge the Secretariat to reflect our position in the report and record. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see that the representative of the People's Republic of China wishes to take the floor, and I give you the floor.
Thank you, Secretary General. I want to reiterate that the theme of the general statements was proposed in line with the practice of Alco and was circulated in line with the statutory rule. China and the Secretariat has taken every effort in addressing the concerns of India and Japan. And after the consideration of the meeting of heads of delegations, the provisional agenda of the annual session has been approved. And I want to draw the attention of the meeting that according to Rule 11.4 of the statutory rules, the provisional agenda, upon its approval by the heads of delegations, shall be adopted as the agenda of the session. We hope the member states could work together to enhance solidarity of the organization. And China would like to reiterate its support to Alco and is willing to work together with all member states to promote our contribution to the development of international law. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I think we stand by the decision of the meeting of the heads of delegations who have approved the provisional agenda subject to the discussion that took place during the meeting of the heads of delegations, and in accordance with Rule 11, Sub-Rule 4, the agenda are brought to your attention for adoption. But those concerns, again, are well articulated and noted. Now, on this note, Excellencies, allow me to proceed to the next item, which again was about the admission of new member states. And I see no states applying for new membership at this session. So again, this agenda item is passed. And I move to the next item on our agenda, namely the admission of observers. I note that the following non-member states wishes to attend this session as observers, namely Australia and New Zealand, Morocco, Kyrgyz Republic, Republic of Kazakhstan, and the Russian Federation. Likewise, the following international organizations wish to attend this session as observers, namely the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, the Committee of Legal Advisors on the Public International Law, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the Hague Conference of Private International Law, as well as the League of Arab States. If there are no objections, let us admit them as observers to the 59th annual session of Alco. And as I see no objection, it is so decided. We move to the next item, namely election of the President and the Vice President for the 59th annual session. Now, the Secretariat has received information that during this next this item of the election of the President and Vice President for the current session. I will give the floor to the delegation wishing to nominate. And I see that the United Republic of Tanzania wishes to nominate the candidate for the position of the President. And I give the floor to the United Republic of Tanzania. Again, that's another challenges with the hybrid session, and that's a good that they have already indicated to the Secretariat and the information which we have received that the United Republic of Tanzania would like to nominate the People's Republic of China to take over the presidency. And we understand that we have the name of the candidate, namely Secretary of Justice, Madame Teresa Cheng, who has been nominated to be the president for the current session. Before I give the floor to the delegation to second the nomination of the president, allow me to present the candidate first, and then I'll give the floor to any delegation wishes to second the nomination. And I'll give that from the podium. Excellencies, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, Secretary of Justice, Madame Teresa Cheng, has been nominated as a candidate for presidency of this session, representing the People's Republic of China and nominated by the United Republic of Tanzania. Secretary of Justice, Madame Teresa Cheng, Senior Counsel, was appointed Secretary for Justice of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China on January 6, 2018. She was a barrister in private practice before joining the government and being called to be a senior counsel in the year 2000. She's also a chartered engineer and a chartered administrator. And before her appointment as a Secretary of Justice for Justice, she was frequently engaged as arbitrator or counsel in complex international commercial and investment disputes. Madam Cheng has ample experience in international law, being one of the founders and chairman of the Asian Academy of International Law, a past vice president of International Council of Commercial Arbitration, past vice president of the ICC International Court of Arbitration, and past chairperson of Hong Kong International Arbitration Center. In the year 2008, she became the first Asian woman elected through global election as president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. She's also a member of the International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute Panel of Arbitrators and was a member of the World Bank Sanctions Board. Madam Cheng is a fellow of King's College in London and was a course director of the International Arbitration and Dispute Settlement course at the Law School of Tsinghua University in Beijing. At this note, I now give the floor to the delegation of Thailand to second the nomination. The delegation of Thailand? We cannot, can you unmute? Again, unfortunately, we can see us, the delegates, the head of the delegation speaking, but we can't hear you. So we...
Apologies for the technical difficulties.
Oh, okay. There you are. There you are. You have the floor. Again, I think, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that...
Secondly.
Okay? Wow. Let me hugely thank you, the Kingdom of Thailand, again, for seconding the nomination of People's Republic of China in the name of, through Secretary to Justice Teresa Cheng. Now, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a nomination for the Vice President for the time being, and the same will be done by correspondence shortly after this session. To this end, I want to now congratulate Madam Teresa Cheng as the President, as elected President of the 59th annual session. To this note, as I declare Madam Teresa Cheng as the President, let us give her a big applause. And I would now ask the protocol to escort the President of the 59th annual session to the podium to continue with the business of the day, but also to deliver her remarks.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to address this gathering as the President of the 59th Annual Session of the Asian African Legal Consultative Organization. On behalf of the People's Republic of China, I take this occasion to warmly welcome all the delegates physically present here and those participating online for this annual session. Given the extraordinary exigencies posed by COVID-19 pandemic, including restrictions on international travel prevailing in many parts of the globe, it was decided to host the annual session in a hybrid format encompassing both physical and virtual participation. An arrangement of this nature is a first for Alco and reflects the difficulties and challenges posed by the new normal we are living in. The People's Republic of China accords highest priority to the health, safety, and well-being of all delegations and participants of this annual session. Keeping this objective in mind, we encourage all stakeholders to actively engage in the deliberations following all the necessary safety protocols. And it is my hope that the hybrid format of our meeting with both virtual and in-person participation will not affect the quality of our deliberations. The history of Alco has been an illustrious one. From a small group of 7 states who were part of what was then known as the Asian Legal Consultative Committee, established on 15th November 1956 as a tangible outcome of the Bandung Conference, the organization is today a large family of 47 member states comprising Asian and African states united in a common quest to shape the development of international law in an inclusive and democratic manner. The codification and progressive development of international law is not a Eurocentric enterprise. It is a mission deeply rooted in the ethos of Afro-Asian imagination that over centuries has advanced the field of international law by its unique practices and perspectives. As representatives of a large segment of the world human population, the Asian and African countries have an important role to play in nurturing and sustaining a world order based on fairness, justice, cooperation, and multilateralism, values that are integral to the international rule of law, so as to address contemporary challenges. I am happy to state that Alco over the years has been formulating a unique appreciation of international law rooted in the values of Bandung, keeping in view the aspirations of its member states. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that our voices are heard and appreciated and find their path in the concrete rules of international law as they progress and evolve. Values of multilateralism and global cooperation can only be strengthened when we eschew all forms of unilateralism and create a world order where the welfare of all is the primary consideration. Mutual cooperation, respect, and solidarity have to be the guiding frameworks for this realization, and I am happy to state that Asian and African countries are leading the way in this pursuit. I also take this opportunity to place on record my appreciation for the outgoing Secretary General, His Excellency Professor Dr. Kennedy Gaston, for his remarkable contribution to Alco during his tenure. Professor Gaston was a strong proponent of Afro-Asian engagement with international law, and over the course of his tenure, remarkable strides have been made in fostering deeper appreciation of international law. Areas like international trade law, international humanitarian law, law of the sea, international investment law, and international criminal law, among many other areas, have received due attention and focus. Intellectual and practical engagements in these domains have improved our collective appreciation of international law and will pave the way for further growth and development in the years to come. The engagement of Alco with the International Law Commission was also a key intellectual highlight of Professor Gaston's tenure. Alco's engagement with the ILC in many ways lies at the heart of his tryst with the discipline. The importance of articulating Afro-Asian positions that are necessary for the wholesome and equitable development of the subject cannot be overemphasized. I am confident that in the times ahead, notwithstanding the new challenges facing us, we will carry forward the great work done in this regard. Excellencies, I once again welcome each and every delegation participating in the 59th annual section and urge each one of you to actively engage in the deliberations following our past traditions. Let us once again commit ourselves to a world order based on sovereign equality, multilateralism, and peaceful coexistence that have defined us since the days of the Bandung. Thank you. We now move to the first general meeting. Now let's take up the first item, the release of Alco publications. Due to the prevailing circumstances, hard copies of the publications are not distributed here, and all delegates will have access to the publications online, and at the same time, they will be sent by email to the email of the head of the delegations. Now, may I invite Deputy Secretary General Dr. Ali Gashaspi to present a statement on the release of the Alco publications. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Publications of an organization play an important role in disseminating the work of the organization to its wide target audience. In recent years, Alco has made improvements in its publications in terms of substantive content and has striven to make them more reader-friendly and accessible. They are published periodically and serve as a manifestation of Alco's role in dissemination of knowledge of international law and practice. This year, apart from the regular publications prepared by the Secretariat, including the Yearbook of Alco for the years 2019 and 2020, the biannual newsletter of the Alco Secretariat, and the Alco Journal of International Law, Volumes 8 and 9, the Secretariat has prepared, with the help of international law enthusiasts and scholars from Asia and Africa, a special issue on international law and pandemics, which covers diverse aspects of international law related to pandemics. Although the outbreak of COVID-19 provided the impetus for preparing a collection of articles on the issue of pandemics, the interesting discussions included in the special issue can serve as a starting point for our future debate on health-related issues of grave concern to Asia and Africa. Related to a wide range of branches of international law, including international health law, international human rights law, and international trade and investment law. Apart from the special issue on international law and pandemics, in response to the mandate given by member states at the 58th annual session, the Secretariat has prepared a special study on the topic extraterritorial application of national legislation, unilateral sanctions imposed against third parties. This study, which can be regarded as a follow-up to the two previous special studies of Alco on the same topic, covers a wide range of issues connected with unilateral and secondary sanctions, ranging from international law of jurisdiction, international human rights law, international health law, international trade law, and it finally touches upon the legal mechanisms certain countries have recently employed to challenge sanctions through various means, such as adoption of blocking statutes and rules, as well as recourse to diplomacy and peaceful settlement of disputes. At this juncture, let me also thank my colleagues at the Secretariat, our board of editors, and all scholars, university professors, lecturers, students, and law practitioners who helped us enrich and diversify the discussions in our journals and the special issue on pandemics. We hope we can maintain this fruitful collaboration. In the end, it is expected that Alco publications can continue to play their role in dissemination of knowledge of international law, and in the long run can contribute to its progressive development. Now I present the publications to the Honorable President for their release, which, considering the existing circumstances, will be sent to the heads of delegations via email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can I ask if there is any comments or questions from the floor? I see none. If that is the case, I would now request the attendees actually to move on to a short break. We will then have the second meeting of the delegations of the Alco member states at 5:50 Hong Kong time. And as the meeting of delegations of the Alco member states at 5:50 Hong Kong time is a closed meeting, I would like to request the observers and non-member states to kindly leave the hall or the virtual meeting and to rejoin the proceedings tomorrow. Thank you very much. We see you at 5:50 Hong Kong time. Right. Okay. Excellencies and distinguished delegates, we now move on to the